Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365, and in today's video I'm going to go over what I feel are the top 10 best 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from 20th Century Fox. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification. You can also find me over Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, that Movie Guy 365. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to continue my series on the best 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays per studio. I did initially Warner Brothers. You can check out that video. I'll leave a link for that in the comments section. For this one, I am going to be focusing on 20th Century Fox, or it is now known as 20th Century Pictures. Ever since Disney purchased the studio, and while their future on releasing 4K Ultra HD at least when it comes to Fox titles is kind of up in the air at the moment, I still have a whole library of 4Ks from the original 20th Century Fox that I feel are worthy of a top 10 list. Now, of course, this is going to be my personal list, and it is very subjective, but I encourage you to also put in the comments section below what you would put on your top 10 best 4K Ultra HDs from 20th Century Fox. Also keep in mind that this is not a commentary on the quality of the movie itself. This is really purely based off picture quality and audio. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive right in to my top 10. My number 10 is Ridley Scott's Alien. It's an iconic film in many ways, and I feel the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray really brings out those positive elements nicely. I think the black levels in particular are really well done. They're very deep, and it just gives you that more menacing feel and atmosphere when you're watching it at home. The level of detail also gets a very nice bump up here. It retains that nice film grain. It has a good look to it. And as far as the audio goes, while we did not get an upgrade in Dolby Atmos, I think the 5.1 is very strong here. It has a lot of punch to it. For the age of the film, it definitely has some good elements to the audio mix. And I think overall, the 4K Ultra HD of Alien absolutely should be on the list, and hopefully one day we will get the other films in the library. My number 9 is Ford v Ferrari from director James Mangold. Now, this is his most recent film, and I will say that the 4K edition is pretty stellar. It has a great look to it. The HDR10 implementation has a nice vintage feel to it. It makes great use of those colors. Black levels also pop off, and there's a great amount of detail here, but where this disc really shines is the Dolby Atmos presentation. I feel it's absolutely reference quality in that area. Those cars during the racing scenes and just the testing really come to life. It really puts your home theater in a real good workout, and it is an absolute reference quality as far as Ultra HD goes. Ford v Ferrari is definitely one that should be on everybody's list. My number 8 is another James Mangold film. This time it's Logan. The final movie starring Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is on 4K Ultra HD, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Not only do we have the added benefit of HDR, which really brings out the colors and the black levels and detail very nicely, but of course it includes a black and white noir version included in the 4K Ultra HD presentation. The Dolby Atmos also sounds phenomenal. There's a lot of punchy elements to this soundtrack, everything from the subtle musical cues that come across very nicely to the action scenes that have a lot of strength to them. This is an absolute reference quality as far as the Fox X-Men films go. It looks beautiful no matter which version you choose to go with, either the color or the black and white, and it has a very nice Atmos presentation. Definitely Logan is a worthy addition to anybody's list. My number 7 is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. Now, with all the Star Wars films being available on 4K earlier this year, the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy garnered a little bit of negativity as far as the overall quality goes. But I do feel that Revenge of the Sith is absolutely beautiful on 4K. Yes, it is an upscale, but I still think it is rendered really well. Just the overall color pop is phenomenal. Level of detail also gets a very nice bump up, even during the more CGI heavy elements. And I think black levels are spot on. The Dolby Atmos presentation is very nice. It has very immersive kind of quality to it, everything from the music to the action. It fills the room very nicely, and I think it is one of the better offerings that was available this year from the Star Wars series. My number 6 is another Ridley Scott film, this time Prometheus. While this is I feel a somewhat good entry into the Alien franchise, and I understand the criticisms behind it, you can't argue that the upscale picture here looks absolutely fantastic in 4K. I think a lot of it has to do with the cinematography and the process bringing it over to 4K, because while this is not inherently a colorful movie, those little bits of color, especially aboard the spaceship, really pop and they look fantastic with HDR. The black levels are also very deep, and level of detail gets a very nice upgrade here. And I think while we get a 7.1 audio mix, it's extremely strong, it's very punchy, it has a lot going on for it, it's very atmospheric. And while the movie itself is not the best entry into the franchise, I think the 4K edition of Prometheus is absolutely stunning. My number 5 is once again a Ridley Scott film, and this one is going to The Martian, starring Matt Damon. Now, this movie itself, I feel, is very underrated as far as his body of work goes, but the 4K edition definitely deserves to be on a top 10 list. The HDR is so good here. It really brings out those details. The Martian environment in particular look really well rendered. The up-close shots of the spacesuits are also very nicely done. The color is very natural, but it just gives you a nice little pop to it. And the black levels are also handled very appropriately. Also, the Dolby Atmos presentation is top notch. There's a lot going on here, a lot of immersion, and just an overall oomph to the soundtrack is really well done here. It is a fantastic presentation on 4K, and I think whether you choose the theatrical or the extended cut, both versions are on 4K, and you should definitely check them out. My number 4 pick is Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Showman. This one was a welcome surprise, not only as far as the quality of the movie goes. I think it's really well done. It's a lot of fun, great musical, but the 4K with HDR is honestly one of the best discs of that year. It has such a great amount of color enhancement. The black levels are very deep, and the detail is second to none. It is an absolutely beautiful looking picture, rendered very well in native 4K, and as far as the audio presentation goes, that is also top notch. We've got a lot of singing, of course, in here, and if the Dolby Atmos presentation really fills the room, and it's so boomy and it's strong, and everything comes through crystal clear. There's a lot going on in the mid-levels and the rears, and it is a very nice overall package. Both picture quality and audio are top-notch on The Greatest Showman. My number 3 pick is Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Now, this is an absolutely beautiful looking native 4K presentation. There was a lot going on behind the scenes when they were creating this movie, but when it was filmed above 4K and was rendered down to the actual 4K presentation we see on the disc. It is a beautiful looking Star Wars movie. I think one of the best in the entire series, and everything just looks gorgeous here. Colors, they all pop off, everything from the laser blast, the explosions, that Darth Vader scene in particular, Mustafar, it all looks really well rendered with the color gamuts. Detail is also given a nice bump up here, looks phenomenal, and black levels are also very deep. The audio presentation is also equally impressive. The Dolby Atmos really rocks the house. Usually Disney is kind of known for down mixing their Atmos presentations, but I think this is a very strong contender. Rogue One, A Star Wars Story is the best looking 4K disc as far as the Star Wars films go, in my opinion, but it's just a cool movie and also worth putting on my list. My number 2 is Elita Battle Angel from director Robert Rodriguez and producer James Cameron. Now, this is an upscale, but it is also a beautifully realized 4K disc. It is also one of the very few Fox 4Ks that implement Dolby Vision for the grading, and it really comes on display full force. I think colors, details, despite the CGI elements, which can tend to look a little soft on the live action, I think they're all rendered really well, and the black levels in particular are done very nicely. Also equally impressive is the Dolby Atmos presentation. This thing will rock your home theater. It is phenomenal, it sounds great, it makes great use of all your speakers, everything up front, rears, and the heights. It's all done very well. Elita Battle Angel is an absolute reference quality 4K presentation and definitely deserves to be number 2. Before I get to my number one, I just wanted to throw out a few honorable mentions, and in no particular order. War for Planet of the Apes from director Matt Reeves. His final film in the Apes trilogy looks absolutely fantastic on 4K. The snowy landscapes really lend itself to a nice HDR presentation, and also the Dolby Atmos is very, very aggressive. Also included is X-Men Apocalypse. While it is definitely not top on a lot of people's lists as far as the X-Men movies go as part of the Fox franchise, I think that the 4K presentation is beautiful. It looks great. It has a nice look to it. The HDR really brings out those colors, the black levels in detail, and also the Dolby Atmos presentation is very strong. And finally, The Shape of Water from Guillermo del Toro and Fox Searchlight Pictures is a well worth your time movie to check out on 4K. It looks beautiful. Those black levels and details really stand out. The color also pops when it's appropriately used, and just it's a beautiful looking disc. And also the audio presentation is definitely no slouch. And for my number one best 4K Ultra HD from 20th Century Fox, that goes to Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. This is a reference quality picture, also an audio presentation that is top notch. Yes, it is 7.1, but this thing is very aggressive. The sounds of the forest around you are constantly filling your speakers, and that bear attack, when it happens, it is aggressive. It's very strong, very punchy audio mix. The picture quality utilizing HDR10 really has a nice look to it. It has a great amount of detail, a subtle hint of color, but also the black levels are phenomenally used. HDR10, the 4K presentation of The Revenant is extremely strong, and I think you should definitely add it to your collection. So that is my top 10 best 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from 20th Century Fox. Let me know in the comment section below what you would put on your personal list. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.